Almost 2 million people have been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. My guest, Wendy Bjork, has been living with multiple sclerosis for decades. Today, she will share her story of life with MS. Hello, Wendy Bjork. How are you today?
I'm awesome. How are you today?
You know what? I'm pretty terrific, and it's really a pleasure to be talking to somebody who actually has MS. I've done a couple of videos on multiple sclerosis, and so you're the first person I've actually interviewed that has MS. When were you first diagnosed, and how old were you at the time?
I was diagnosed, I was about 22. And after seeing, I don't know how many doctors, a couple general medical doctors, probably 4 or 5 neurologists, but this all really started when I was in high school.
What was your
And
first symptom, though? What were the symptoms
oh,
that brought you even to the doctors?
it was after I would take a hot bath. You take a hot bath at night because you're cold, because I live in Wisconsin. So winter's always cold. And I would get out and my legs would feel like noodles, like they were rubber and they didn't want to work. And I thought, well, this is kind of weird. And I was a runner and I just kind of
Oh.
blamed it on that. And it just weird stuff like that kept happening.
And then when did a doctor finally give you that actual diagnosis? Because you probably, throughout seeing all the doctors, they were thinking it was this or that or a pinched nerve or who
Mhm.
who knows, you know.
Drama.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, or trauma.
Mhm.
When did a doctor actually say, "Okay, I hate to tell you this, but you have multiple sclerosis?"
It was, after I had an MRI and they said, well, normal people have white spots on their brain, so we don't still know. And finally, a doctor did a spinal tap on me. Didn't tell me to go home and lay down. I went back to work that day and said, I just had a spinal tap. And they're like, you did not. You'd be in the hospital. Like, well, I did. I don't know. And then I had that headache that started about 7 o'clock that night where I didn't stand up again for 3 or 4 days. But that was the doctor. Then, after he did that blood analysis, said, of course, he had me come back to tell me that I had MS. And I thought,
You're 22, what's that? Can't be that bad. What were you thinking at age 22?
well, unfortunately, I knew what it was because one of my mom's friends has MS, and my grandmother had horrible rheumatoid arthritis, sat in a chair all day. And all of a sudden, I thought, crap, I'm screwed.
So you knew, that it was an autoimmune disease, and so there's other diseases that are related, other autoimmune diseases, and, so did the symptoms go away, or did they immediately start putting you on, pharmaceutical drugs, or what was the first course of treatment?
Well, it was 1992. So the first course of treatment was let's just wait and see what happens.
Okay.
And that was a continual course of treatment. We'll just wait and see.
Okay, and
So
did it ever get to the point where it really, was a problem in your world, just your day-to-day, life?
I could definitely tell I had a stressful job and I could tell when the stress level was too high because my legs would go numb. My feet would become more numb because they're already numb. And my speech would be affected. My vision would be affected. And you're 22 years old. You're like, I just want to be having fun with my friends, shopping, going out. And so I just kind of ignored it.
Okay, Wendy, something just kind of funny occurred to me. Actually have the same thing. It's really interesting because a lot of people will have excruciating pain, and
Mhm.
myself, like you, it was numbness, like numbness. I don't have any feeling on the left side of my body, and that also has to do with multiple sclerosis. Typically, it's the left side of your body, but I have this thing called toe checks. So, and I don't know if you do that, I'm just curious, where I'm constantly checking my foot if I'm walking around my house barefoot just to make sure I didn't break a toe and didn't
Oh.
know it because I don't have any feeling in my left foot.
Hmm. No, I don't, but I should start doing that.
I know you just start do a toe check every once in a while, or even like it's my left hand too, and so
Mm.
picking up hot objects or things like that. I mean, there's things that we have to adjust. When do you now? I do know that with your company, Hearts of Wellness, that you tried some more natural. type treatments, and how what treatments are you doing on yourself, and how has it been working for you?
I think that has really been a huge part of my journey because people think, okay, I can do this medicine and I'm going to feel better, no matter what it is. I'm going to take a pill, I'm going to do a shot, whatever, and you're going to feel better. But when you start looking at all the things that you're doing or not doing and things that you could be doing, it's so overwhelming. And I just kind of took a step back and like, why? My friends all have kids. They are running around, they're working full time. They're not tripping on this shopping cart in the grocery store, but I am. And I know I have MS, but why? Why do I feel so crappy? And it really started because my boys, when they're younger, loved going to the library. And I would look at books about inflammation and things that cause inflammation. And it just kind of was like putting a big puzzle together. And it still is, of things that we can do to help ourselves. So that's really what triggered the whole wellness thing because I wasn't into wellness.
Was that a point where you decided not to take any type of, prescription type medicines and just really solely go just natural?
That didn't happen until I had a bad fall and I literally could not inject myself anymore because I'm left-handed. I fell in front of the post office because it was slippery and I went skidding down the street and I thought I broke my arm, but I just jammed it. And I thought I just quit giving myself injections then. And that was about 2014.
Okay, so at that moment you were done. You knew that the injections probably weren't helping you. If anything, they may have been hurting you. Is that how you felt?
I knew it wasn't helping my body as far as processing goes because whatever we put into it, our body has to process it or whatever we smell. And that's what I was beginning to stack up for my own personal knowledge of what are we doing? Why are we doing it? And really just asking those questions.
Okay. So tell me what people like, how do people react to when you tell them that you have multiple sclerosis, or they find out that you have multiple sclerosis, or has anyone ever said anything that was just funny or odd, or were you did?
All the time.
Okay, tell me.
They always dig in their little memory bank to tell me of, their neighbor's uncle's brother, whatever, that had it. And then they had bee venom or they did vitamin D treatments or this, that, or the other thing. It's like, but one thing doesn't solve the problem. It's all kinds of things that contribute. We don't
Right.
have one system in our body that is running the show. Look at the systems that run the show.
Yeah. No, I so it's interesting because, of course, I've read about the Cambrai, protocol and with vitamin D, and, when I was really became into, more knowledgeable about natural health, and I tried that, bombarded my
Hmm.
body with vitamin D. So, we try these things, but they all don't work for everybody.
Hmm.
Um, but I find that, people don't really have a clear understanding of what MS is, and how would you describe that if somebody just actually isn't aware? How would you describe, like, I have MS and this is what it looks like and this is what it means?
I think when you tell people you have MS, they have their own definitions. So we just have to explain maybe how it affects us. Some days I'm exhausted. I can't move my legs. Some days I feel like I have pirate legs. Some days I just trip a lot because you just have one of those days. And it's different. It's different for me every day. It's different for you every day. It's different for everybody every day. And it's always a surprise. We don't really know what's going to happen. And that's why we can't explain when we don't show up for an event why we're not there, except that we just can't be there.
It sometimes it's difficult when you have multiple sclerosis because you feel like you're letting people down. But then there's some people that actually get angry because they don't believe that you have MS, or that MS is really anything that would prevent you from doing uh, something simple like, showing up to an event or a party. And
Mhm.
for me, that was really difficult. And it still continues to be difficult. And so, um, I can just tell you what I've done to counter is I just simply don't commit. I don't commit if it's something like a Christmas party. Like, I may or may not be there, I wouldn't commit to bringing the big main dish because I know on that morning I may not be able to go.
Mhm.
And so, but the things that people say that I think hurts the most is that they just simply don't believe me. Do you
Mhm.
come across that?
Yes, and like you said, the morning of, I mean, 5 minutes before, I might trip and fall and have a gash in my head, and I can't go,
Right.
and it's
But
just
then do you feel like you have to explain yourself? Like, here's a picture of me with a guy
Yeah.
because if you just say I fell or, people may not believe you. I would say that that's the number one thing that hurts the most.
Mhm. Yeah,
Or people playing dumb. Like, well, I just don't understand this MS thing. You were perfectly fine yesterday.
and you look fine.
Yes.
Excuse me for putting on eyeliner
I
today
know.
and lip gloss. I'm sorry. I like to put my one of my neurologists told me that. He's like, "I don't care what you feel like. Put on clean clothes. I don't care if it's clean yoga pants, and if you wear makeup, put on some makeup if that what makes you feel good."
Okay, that is excellent advice, except that sometimes it is counterintuitive only because people expect us to look horrible if we're not
I know.
able to arrive. Funny thing when you're talking about how, you're unstable, when you're walking around, and the Multiple Sclerosis Society has these T-shirts that they sell. I'm not like advocating to go buy this T-shirt, but it's funny. It's apropos because the T-shirt says, "I'm not drunk. I just have MS."
Mhm.
Because sometimes when I walk around or go into a store and I don't have my cane or my walker, I feel like people are gonna think I'm drunk, like, at 10 in the
Yeah,
morning. So
right.
because we walk like drunk people.
Yes.
So, what was your best piece of advice that you would give somebody that doesn't really have a clear understanding, but they still want to, they want to maybe advocate for you, or they really they want to know more about it.
I think offering maybe how I've dealt with it and things that have happened to me, if they are truly listening, they will understand. You know, we can say some things for 2 or 3 minutes to explain what we're doing in our life, like how it impacts us. And if somebody is truly wanting to help, they will hear us, they will accept that, and then they'll be willing to support us.
Have you lost any friends because people just don't understand?
Probably.
That's funny. I like that. Probably, but if I have, I didn't even have even noticed because they probably weren't worthy of being your friend, Wendy. Anyway, how can people get in touch with you, especially with your company, Hearts of Wellness? How can people get in touch with you?
Sure. That is my main platform, theheartsofwellness.com. And there, I actually created my own t shirt shop this fall because I was so tired of all these t shirts that are negative, like FMS and I hate MS and blah, blah, blah. And there's, like Christina Applegate, that's her tagline is FMS. Like, you can't be angry about it because then that just kind of festers inside you and then you get more symptoms. I would still like to help her.
Right.
So you know, I just decided I wanted my own high vibe shop. And you can get to there from myheartsofwellness.com.
Okay.
And I also have it's called a members portal where I call it your private spa because I have info on essential oils and how that's helped me. And there's fast, easy recipes in there and there's some webinars, some meditations, just different things that have helped me get through my week because that's what it's about. It's just if we can just get through the week.
Okay, and I like that. It's interesting about Christina Applegate. I just want to say to her, Christina, you have so much to offer the world, and really just because my mantra is focus on your capabilities and not your
Mm,
disabilities. Make a list of all the things that you can do. When you
mhm,
very first, are diagnosed with MS or the first few years of MS, you really focus, or we seem to focus on all the things that we can't do. And that list is so much greater than what we can do. And then if you start making a list, you know what, I can do this and I can read and I
mhm,
can walk and I can still, have great conversations and great meals. And maybe sometimes some days I can cook and just thinking about, all the things that you can do, focusing on your capabilities and not your disabilities. I'm going to go to your
Yes.
website and check out your t-shirts. I think that because I would rather have a positive, t, multiple sclerosis t-shirt because I don't like the F ones.